Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. Usually I have my little buddy Puccini right here with me and I show him to you, but he's sound asleep. And so I'm going to post just another picture that I have of him that I've taken in the last couple of days. I think I'm just going to let him sleep through this one. So I have a very fun card for you today. It is a bit of a different fold, and it's a little on the fussy side, but I really love the way it came out. And I'm using the Abigail Rose and Cottage Rose suite. Unlike the other day when I put up my video, the sentiment was Cottage Rose, but the paper was actually Hues of Happiness, and I did put the right name down on the bottom of the page and then on my blog, so hopefully that didn't confuse anybody. But this time we're using the Abigail Rose paper, and it is a happy birthday card, and let's just get started. Here is my card, and it is happy birthday, and it opens this way, and there's a place for you to write your sentiment on inside here. And while it's on just a single sheet, it will stand. So it's like I said, it's a little bit fussy in that it's got a little bit of coloring and some die cuts, but not difficult. So let me tell you what you need to have. I had a piece of Very Vanilla that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I have a piece of Petal Pink that is 4 by 5 1/4, which is going to layer here. Then I have a piece of this beautiful Abigail Rose paper, and the full sheet looks like this. And what I did was I just cut a 3 3/4 by 5 panel. There's so many beautiful flowers on here, it almost doesn't matter where you cut it, it comes out beautiful. Then I have 2 pieces of Very Vanilla, and these pieces are cut 6 inches by 2 1/2 inches, and they're each scored at 4 1/4. These pieces are going to slide under here and close across the card like this, and then across the card back the other way, and that's going to give us this double fold business at the bottom. And then I have a piece of the other designer series paper, and from that is these green leaves that I put on the inside, and then there's a place to write your message over here. So I've also done some die cuts. Let me show you the stamp set. The stamp set is Cottage Rose, and it's this flower that I used and these leaves, and I cut 2 of this flower and 2 of these leaves, and that is using the cottage flower dies, and I used the outline for this one and the outline for the leaves, and I just did 2 passes on that so I would have enough for my card. Now, inks that I'm using Memento, I'm using Mango Melody, I'm using Old Olive, and I'm using Petal Pink. And I have a piece of the ribbon that goes with this sweet natural finish ribbon, and it's very wide, and you'll see on the inside of this card, when this flap opens, I've stamped a little bit of that ribbon and then put another one of these flowers right here along the bottom. So that is the plan, and I've already done my stamping and die cutting just to save a little bit of time, but it's really quite simple. You just have to, on this one, this is pretty large stamp, so you just have to get your ink. You take your ink to the stamp and get lots of ink on it, and then make sure that you put pressure all over it to get a good image. and the others are pretty simple. And we'll stamp the ribbon together so you see how that's done. And I have one flower for here, one for inside here, which will cut a little bit, and then two of the leaves to fill in this area here. And that's what we're doing. I also have a little piece of scrap of Very Vanilla, and I stamped the happy birthday that comes with this set, which is this one, and it's very small. So what I did is I stamped the happy birthday, and then I trimmed around it with my trimmer to get it straight, and then I cut another little piece of the Petal Pink to mat it. And depending on what happy birthday stamp you use, I wanted this to be very minimal and show up here. In fact, this one is smaller than the one I put on here, a little wider and a little bit shorter though. And I just didn't want it to get in the way of all of the rest of this pretty stuff. So that's what the pieces are. And I'm going to start by putting on my two flaps. And what we're going to do is add some seal. We don't need very much of the flap to go underneath. We just need to make sure we've got plenty of glue on it so that it stays down. So this flap is going to go on one end of my card, and I'm putting this on the inside so it won't show on the back. And so I'm going to put this piece, let's see if I can get this up where you can see it, and I'm going to just make it go right along the bottom edge of the card and right along the edge of this part of the card. And there we have our piece in. Now we have the second flap that we're going to have coming from the other side. And like I said, these pieces are 6 inches by 2.5. And I scored them at 4 1/4 because I wanted them to go all the way across the card in both instances. On this one, I made the inside flap a little bit shorter and decided I didn't like that. So again, I'm going to put this right down here on the bottom of the card and right along the edge. Now I've got that set, and in order, it buckles a little bit, so I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off, or 1/16 of an inch, just a tiny bit, so that will sit across here and won't make this piece on top buckle. I'm going to go off camera and just take a sliver off, and I'll show you how much I'm taking off. That's how much I took off, and that's going to allow the card to close a little bit more easily. There we go. All right. Now, the panel on the inside to hide all of this mess here is going to be, first of all, the Petal Pink. Okay, so this piece is 4 by 5 3/8 or 3/8. So now that will come all the way to the bottom and still give us the border we want around the top. And those two little pieces on the bottom won't show. So that is what it needs to be. It needs to be 4 inches by 5 3/8. Instead of 5 1/4. So now I'm going to get that margin set at the top and bring this all the way down to the bottom of the page and get that set there. And so there, now we don't see our flap ends on the bottom. Okay, so next we're going to do some coloring, and I made the coloring fairly simple. I used the inks, but I just used daubers, and I did not do a lot of coloring. Now you're welcome to do all of the coloring with blends or markers or whatever you'd like to do, but I don't have the patience for a lot of that. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary, but on this one I thought I could get away with using a dauber. So I've got my Petal Pink here, and I am just going to go over these flowers, and this on this one, this Petal Pink runs into this next flower, and so I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to show you using my old olive what I did with the flowers, the leaves, and the leaves again just very simply going over the leaves with my dauber and making this coloring pretty darn fast and pretty easy. So, and if you get your ink along the edge, then you can just use the edge of the dauber, and if it goes a little bit over the leaf, I don't really care. It's just not that kind of detail coloring. Now, can you do the detail coloring? Absolutely. And if that's something you enjoy, you might want to do that. So I'm going to speed through this. Oh, the last thing that I did was I did use Mango Melody for these little flowers. And so I'm going to put some Mango Melody on here, and I just colored these little flowers, and they're clustered together, so they're actually pretty easy to do. And I put actually quite a bit of color down on these. And when I did the one for out here, I colored it pretty heavily, and when I did the one for the inside, I did it very lightly. So I'm going to speed through this part so it's not so tedious to watch, and I will be back in a flash. Okay, so there is all of my coloring done. And the only other thing I did is I decided for a little contrast. These little flowers here, I used the Orchid, the new color, what is it called? Orchid Oasis. And I'm just using my marker here to add just this little bit of purple onto these little flowers that are here. And I just liked the way that one kind of looked. So I've added those here, and it doesn't take much, and there we've got those done. I'm going to add some to these flowers, and I'm going to color the centers, and I used my Daffodil Delight marker to color the centers of the flowers, just to add a little something extra. But there we go. It's as simple as that. So now my coloring is all done. Now you saw me, I dipped my green dauber into, I think it was the Petal Pink. And what I did was I used a baby wipe to just push into that pad enough times that I finally lifted it all out. We all do it sooner or later, or somebody in a card class does it. And if it's not a huge amount, you can get it out quite easily by picking it up and then re-inking. So, and note to self, close your stamp pads when you're done with them so that that doesn't happen. So, all right, so now we have this piece done. So this piece is going to go on the inside of here, 3 3/4 by 5. Now I'm just going to add some snail to this. And set this down. This paper is just so pretty. Put this down so that I get a good margin around the whole thing. There we go. Now I have my happy birthday and my silicone mat and my dot runner and my little pink mat here that I'm going to set my happy birthday down on. And then I've got some mini dimensionals I'm going to put on the back of this one. Then finding the right place for this on the card is the next thing. And on this one, it worked pretty well to put it right under here. And I think this one will work better over on this side because there isn't quite as much going on. So if I set that one in place right there, I think that will work. This little piece, you'll see I didn't even re-ink. I just used the little bit of green that was left on the dauber when I did this one. And we're going to set that one in place right here and provide that, and then this is where you'll add your message. So we've got a little bit to do to decorate our flaps. So the one that's going to go on the outside is the one with a little bit deeper color, and if you arrange this just right, it just about fits on that flap and doesn't interfere with your message. These little purple things have to go down to the bottom in order for that to happen. And on that one, I just added 3, I think it was, regular sized dimensionals to the back of this one because I need to tuck things underneath it and I don't want the dimensionals to get in the way. So there we go. And so this one is going to go on dimensionals. Oops, forgot my piece of pink. So before I add my flowers, I'm going to take this little piece that's 2 1/4 by 4 and add some snail to it and put it on this piece. And it's going to give us a little bit more of that pink color on the front of the card, which is kind of nice. And then this piece is ready to go right down here the way we looked at it, right up against the edges so that it doesn't hang over, and like that. Now then, I've got 2 green leaves, and I put one kind of coming out this way and one kind of coming up this way. So I'm just going to add a little bit of snail to the back of these, and those I'm just going to put flat on the bottom of the card here, maybe out a little bit further than that, like that. And then this one along the bottom here to sort of fill in this side of the card. So I'm going to add some snail. In fact, I might just clip off that stem when I stick these in here because I want them to kind of fill up the rest of the card. So there we go. Now that is our front finished. And we have this done, so we just need to do this piece. And I have a piece of ribbon, and I'm going to show you. This ribbon is so much fun because it can be stamped on. So I've got some leaves here, and I'm going to get those inked up, and I'm going to stamp some of those leaves right here on my piece of ribbon. And then I have these three flowers that are set up together, and I'm going to put two of them right here next to the leaves. And oh, I wished I'd inked that a little bit more, but it's good. Then I'm going to add some more leaves on this end, like that. Then we're going to just trim this because we want a piece that'll fit on this portion. I tried to round those, but I think that's just going to fray. So on this one, I'm going to cut off. I can't find my ribbon scissors. They're in here someplace, but right now I have no idea where. So this little piece of ribbon is just going to go right on here. And what I'm going to do is add some extra snail on the edges. Hopefully that'll keep it from fraying too much. And then adding some snail across the middle. And I'm going to set this down right on here. And then we are going to add this other flower. And I did this one so that it would come up a little bit on the ribbon, but not cover it completely. So I'm going to make a little pencil mark here, right about there and right about there. And I'm going to put that on my trimmer off to the side here. And I'm just going to trim that little edge off. And that way this can go right on here. And we'll add a little bit of snail to that. And that will be decorated as well. So there we go. Isn't that fun? I just love this. That is that one pretty much done. It's slightly different than this one, but that just depends on where you cut the paper. And I think that'll work. And then we have to just decide what kind of embellishments we'd like to have on this, what kind of bling. And I'm thinking that I might just go with plain rhinestones, unless you wanted to spend some time coloring rhinestones in the Petal Pink. And you could certainly do that. I don't think I'm going to, though, because I like the idea of this silver shiny on here. And I'm just going to dot a few of them around on the card. And I think that's very pretty. And I've got some of these that are the medium-sized ones that I can add. And then I'm going to add a couple of little ones. And the rule is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 that you can see. So I'm going to violate that pretty badly by doing, there's the 5 there. But then I want some inside here that are going to add to the what we're doing. And so when you open this flap, there can be a couple like that. And then when you open it up, we can add a couple more to the inside. Obviously, you don't have to put this many on, but I love bling. So there we go. One more for good measure. Maybe right in here or down here. There we go. So when it's like this, you still see a little bit of bling. And when it's like this, you still see a little bit of bling. And when you open it all the way up, you've got some there too. So that is what I'm going to do. Now I'll have to add bling to this one, but I'll do that off camera. And so that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. It's always a good time to join Stampin' Up! It's $125 worth of product for $99, and your first minimum is now not due until December. So that's a great time to join because you have a nice long runway to make your first minimum. And when people join my team, we spend a little bit of time if you want to, and I can help you kind of figure out how to meet your minimum and what to do. So, and we have a wonderful team, just lovely people on my team, and it's growing. So the community that we have amongst the team is really, really beneficial. It's a wonderful group of people. We have meetings, we do swaps, we do all kinds of things, and I'd love to have you on my team. So that's it for me. Let's see, this is June. $60 shopping spree on me is the monthly prize, and you get that when you put an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. We're getting ready to release the new catalog, which is the July to December catalog, and I've got boxes coming, so we'll be looking at some new stuff that's coming, and we'll be working a lot out of the newly released annual catalog as well. There's so much material to work with right now, it's hard to know what to pick next. In any case, that's it for me, and I'll see you next time with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!